speaker today, the speaker of the hour. It is not myself, and I'm very excited for that. I've been excited all day, I've been praying for her all day. I know she's going to knock it out of the park. She is my wife. She is the mother of my 2 kids. She is a student of the Word. She lives what she will be preaching here in a second. I know that for a fact. She's much greater person than I ever could be. So I'm just grateful that God brought us together. So I'm not going to talk too much if I get up here and start crying. But nevertheless, I will introduce to you guys Elder Jasmine Lowery.
Yay.
Go ahead and sit down. You can sit right there. So guys, I am of course honored to come before you guys. I am of course absolutely nervous because I prefer to sit in the back and just tend to the kiddos. So being in the front is kind of like awkward for me. And it's so funny because I'll get to talking and stuttering and just sweating in places that is not holy, right? But yesterday when I was talking to Brandon, and he said, "Oh, he sent a message and said, would you be up to doing it?" And I wanted to say no, but I was like, I can relieve him, I guess. So I agreed. And of course, yesterday I came up with something that I was going to do, and I tried to read through it. Well, I did read through it, and I have all of these notes on it too, right? And I was just like, yeah, and I was all excited. Went to bed, Brandon was like, "Oh, you good? You got this?" And I was like, "Yeah, I just gotta read over it again tomorrow, and then we'll be good." And then today came, and I read over it, and I was like, struggle with it, and I now I see why people don't talk to people or they don't get on social media before they get to speak, because of course I talk to my mom every morning before she starts work, and I was telling her that I was going to teach Bible study today, and she was like, "Well, you don't know what to do? Here, I got something for you." So she tells me, read Esther and then go through that and talk on that. And I read through Esther twice today. And it just didn't do it. So here we are. I am going to be coming from Matthew 14, 22 through 33. Now, granted, this is a very, very, very familiar place. However, I want to give you a little twist. So, 14, 22 through 33. We're going to stop at 33. And of course, before I go into speaking, I just want to, of course, give honor to Bishop and Lady in their absence. I'm grateful that they trusted me as to be an elder to even come before anyone, as well as give honor to my husband, my best friend, my pastor at my home, my Rolly, my everything, my all in all. I'm so glad that God connected us as well, because He is everything. So, yes, honor is due to Him. Yes. Okay, so we are coming from Matthew 14, 22. Immediately Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go ahead of Him to the other side, while He dismissed the crowd. After He dismissed them, He went up to the mountainside by Himself to pray. Later that night, He was there alone, and the boat was already considerably distant from the land, buffeted by the waves because of the wind and the wind that was against it. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw Him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, Take courage, it is I, don't be afraid. 28. Lord, if it's you, Peter replied, tell me to come to you on the water. Come, he said. Then Peter got down out the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and began to sink, cried out, Lord, save me. Immediately Jesus reached his hand out and caught him. You of little faith, you of little faith, he said, why do you doubt? And when they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshiped him, saying, truly you are the Son of God. And that is the word of the Lord. So typically when we come to this story and we talk about this story, we talk about how amazing God is for, giving Peter the faith to walk on water, and how we talk about faith and how, you can walk on water. So we're all excited and we're all like, we can do it all. We got this all. And so I'm here to tell you that's not what I'm encouraging you today. I'm encouraging you that even in your disbelief, God will still carry you through. So Peter walks on water, and immediately after walking on water, he gets afraid and he gets scared and he gets discouraged, and God has already performed the miracle. There was the sign was right there. They were terrified. He said, well, if it's you, then let me walk on water. And he walked on water. I mean, if God told you, well, okay, come on, walk on water, and you actually do it, immediately after that, would you doubt him? Like, I don't know. I guess for me, when I think about like, oh, Brandon, what are we going to have for dinner? And immediately he goes and gets dinner. As he's bringing dinner home, I'm going to say, oh my goodness, we're going to be so hungry. No, you don't do that. So I get tickled when I read this story, because for me, I always look at it like, why is he doubting God while the miracle is taking place? But when like I said, I had a completely different message. So I'm going to be looking at my phone because I was typing this stuff within like an hour or so. So a point that I would like to point out here with Peter's disbelief is that why was he, I guess it doesn't really matter too much because it wasn't focused in the story why he was in disbelief or why he got discouraged when the winds came. All it says is that the winds came, the water got even troubled, and he screamed, he cried out in fear. And of course, Brandon taught us that things are in our reach, that it's within your reach, it's in your reach. And that has been playing in my head since he spoke it, that it's in your reach, it's in your reach. And God was right there in his reach. And in his disbelief, God reached out, stretched his hand, tells him, gets on him like, hey, you got little faith, but still carries him through the storm. And I don't know if it might have been because of the crowd wasn't on the water, because he's the only one who came out. Sometimes we get discouraged with things because nobody else is doing it with us, or nobody else is going along to do it. And that can be very discouraging, like, that you're the only person stepping out to walk on the water. Like, everybody's gonna think you're crazy. This is not the thing to do. This is not what's trending. This is crazy, and it's not been done before. So you can't be discouraged because everybody else isn't doing it. You can't allow for, because nobody else has taken that path, or your sidekick is not going with you. You can't be discouraged that God won't see you through it. And encouraging enough, we don't want to lean on the fact that God is always going to pick us up when we are in disbelief. We don't want to always lean on that. Yes, that is the truth. That is his word. He is there. He never leaves us. He never forsakes us. That is his word. However, regardless of that, you always want to continue to exercise your faith. You want to exercise that. You want to continue to press on. You want to continue to go on. And of course, that might sound easy to say, but when you're going through something in life, it's like, okay, well, I can exercise my faith in believing that God is God, but believing that groceries will be put in the house, that's a little questionable. I might have to go, do something to make something shake, or I might have to, call on somebody else instead of totally relying that God will do it. So I hope you guys are following along with me so far. And let's see. So, I said, is it because you think that you're not deserving of the opportunity? So, again, it doesn't go deep in detail why Peter got discouraged, but could it be that he thought that he didn't deserve that opportunity to walk on water is why he got discouraged? And sometimes we do get discouraged because we're like, I don't deserve this, I'm not worthy of this, or blah, blah, blah. You just painted. I used to have this supervisor, it's so funny. He was an older man, and he used to, when I've gotten better since I got married, but I used to be late to everything. And I would be late coming to his meeting, scrambling with my little notebook, just coming into his meeting late. And I was like, I'm so sorry, I had to go to the bathroom, and then he would do this. He used to go like this real slow, right? He used to do his finger like this. And I used to be like, what are you doing? And one day he finally told me what he was doing. Y'all, he was playing a record. He said, I'm tired of your sad story. He was playing me a record. He was spinning a record on his little finger, or he would do like this, like he would do like he's playing a violin. But I never caught on until one day he told me what he was doing. But my point of bringing that story up was that, do you think that the opportunity is just not yours? Or are you crying this sad story like, oh, I have this, or for example, I'm going to use you, Mother Joyce, I just had surgery, I don't need to be doing all that, or I can't be doing this because I'm older in age, and I know that you're in your great, beautiful years, but I'm using you as an example, like, no, I can't do this, or my daughter is married, I don't need to do this, or I don't need to go to this place because it'd be too far away from her, or any excuse that you could use that would be your sad story as to why you can't go on, or why you can't do this, or why that opportunity has missed you. But don't allow that, whatever it is, to be your cripple, whatever it is to cause you to not move forward and go forward and walk in faith. So that was that point. And then also, comfort zone. Is it because he's more comfortable with being in the boat? Being in the boat. A lot of us don't make a move because we're comfortable with where we are, even if where we are is traumatic. It's just not the place to be. It's like, oh my goodness, why on earth am I here? Like, we complain about certain situations all the time.
Too scared to step out.
Too scared to step out. But in that, you can't allow, something that I've learned is that what you fear will take over you if you allow it. If you allow what you fear to take over you, where are you gonna go? Like, I had experience before that, like, I didn't have fear of moving to North Carolina. I didn't really have a fear of that. The things that I thought that I would encounter, I didn't encounter. I encountered completely different things, but I had no fear. But I didn't allow fear to stop me from what was to come for me. If I would never move to North Carolina, who's to say that Brandon would have been willing to move to Ohio? Our path would have been different if. Now, granted, we would get married. I mean, if I would drag him to that altar, he would marry me. We would have spent all this time, these last few months, we would get married. So I didn't have a fear of the marriage not happening, but I was like, dang, I really got to move to North Carolina. Like, I really have to move. And there, again, I did not have a fear of moving here. I had fears of different things. And if I allowed those things, completely different. I never had a desire to leave Ohio. I never had a desire to, move into somebody else's house. And I can say that and laugh about it now. I had no desire to move into somebody else's house, even though when we got married, Brandon never treated me like, oh, this is my house. He was like, every time I came to visit, he'd be like, what do you want to change? What do you want to do to the house? What do you want to, blah, 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 blah. Like, it was just like, oh, this is our thing, you know? But it was a house that he purchased before we got married. But using that as an example that I didn't, the things that were on my list, the things that I constantly thought about, the things that I constantly went over in my head and said, no, I don't, this is gonna make it not work, this is gonna make things complicated, this is going to challenge me in a way that I don't want to be challenged, were the very things that I wasn't even, they were like down here compared to what God was doing. Like, we wouldn't made it here. And to some people, Full Circle Church might not be that grand to them. This may not be, you know, the is all be all for them. But to me, the ministry that's being built here, it's a blessing. Me having 2 children after being told that I could possibly not have children is a blessing to me. Me being married, considering that, you know, and being in my right mind, considering the family that I came from, and not knocking anything, because I know the path that we came from, you know, everybody has their own path. God has definitely kept me. And if I lived in fear, if we walk in fear, if we allow fear to overtake us and our circumstances to overtake us by mind, we'll never get further. Now, granted, like I said, the biggest thing that I wanted to point out is that God carries us even in our when we're in disbelief. I want to hone in on that because I want us to remember that job or no job, He's still gonna provide. He's still gonna make a way. Car or no car, He's still gonna make a way. You know, family there or not, He's still gonna make a way. If the doctor says that you're sick, God is still a healer. He is still a healer. He still is a deliverer. Family acting wild and crazy and you can't rely on them, God is still a deliverer. He's still a savior. He can still do all of these things. And we can't allow for circumstances to cause us to not believe. And like I said, He'll carry us through it, even through the disbelief, even when the signs and wonders and everything around don't look that pleasing, He still will carry us through. But while I'm looking over this, I will give y'all a second if y'all want to say anything, or have anything that y'all want to point out.
I just want to say that I totally agree with what you said because I had to come to a realization that I was my own worst enemy because I was afraid to step out on faith and believe, okay, God, I'm here now, I don't have a job, I got all this other stuff going on, but I knew that I had to still believe and trust that, okay, just like that, they call it a deadfall or whatever, you know, when you're standing up and you ask somebody to catch you, and you're trusting that that person is going to be right there.
Yeah.
That's God for me, because I'm doing a deadfall, and I know that if I can't trust on anybody else, that God is going to be trustful. That's it. I said deadfall, trustful.
And you know what? I'm not going to cut you off. When you don't trust enough to fall the right way, which I didn't trust. I don't think so. And so, even though I did it and I tried to stop it.
Yeah.
So I actually hurt myself. I ended up doing it, but because I unconsciously tried to not do it, I
Hurt yourself.
And so, you know, either you're going to trust
Or
you're not, or just don't do it.
It's so funny that you say that, Elder Mother Joyce, because when you don't trust God, you end up hurting yourself. You end up hurting yourself, like, and whether it's torment mentally, if it's in your body with sickness, if it is losing material things, you end up hurting yourself, not trusting God. Like, not trusting God is the song, we love the song. I'm sure y'all probably heard the song, Trust in God. It's elevation worship, and
I was listening to it on the way here.
I mean, it's just like, it brings tears to my eyes because
Yes.
if nothing else, I trust God. That's why I have no fear moving in North Carolina. That's why I have no fear in the situation that I'm in currently. That's why I have no fear to deliver a baby, and I have the lowest pain tolerance ever, lowest. But I trust God. I know that He's got me. I know that He will, carry me even in my disbelief. I know that I have the capability to walk on water. I know it. There's nothing that can tell me that I can't. Even if I got to pour the water down on the floor myself and walk over, I walk on water. And I stand on that. Like, I believe God wholeheartedly that I can do the impossible. The things that people think that I can't do, the things that people say are against me, or the very thing that nobody else is doing, I can run towards and do it. And I am encouraging myself today. Some days I am not that great in my faith. I can honestly say that. Brandon knows that. He sees me day in and day out. But at the end of the day, he knows I trust God. I know I trust God. And at the bottom of that line, I'll always go back to, all right, I'm trusting God. I'm going to go to some.
Will you finish?
I'm
I
sorry.
cut you off because
Oh,
you
no.
brought
You
that
just-
to my
We were
mind
piggybacking
about
off
that
each other, 'cause
trust
you,
fall.
you
But-
said exactly what.
But the other thing I want to say too is, the word says the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord.
Mhm.
And one prayer that I do pray, God was for me, open the door. Was for me, was not for me. Even if I want, shut that door. And I have watched him do it, I'm telling you, miraculously. The things that he does, and we don't necessarily pay attention. This place that I'm going to move to before I end up where I am right now, I was determined to be there. I had gotten my deposit. I had gotten everything I needed. I was there one time. I was sold out on this apartment on Riverwalk. Right? And I get there, and the guy says to me, he's a leasing agent, he said, I wouldn't move here. What do you mean you wouldn't move here? I signed the lease. What? I'm not gonna move here. I don't need to hear that from you.
Right.
I have my check here. I'm ready to move in. What do you mean? He said, I wouldn't. He said, the leasing person quit last night. He says, I'm quitting as of today. He said, they won't give us the things we need to make this place the way it needs to be. He said, I would not move anywhere. Now, Johnson ain't want to hear that either, because I'm moving out of 4340. Everybody's happy. And I gotta go back and tell her I'm not moving out. I don't think so.
Right.
And I was determined, and he would not take that chance. Right? And I said, okay. So, I leave there, my money in my hand and everything, and I called Kel, I'm not sure legally, what am I supposed to do, right? And so, Kel said, don't worry about it. He said, I just know he got more faith than I have, right? He said, it's gonna work out. Okay, so they tried to say that it was bonding, and, my niece, she's being in banking and legal terms and stuff, and she kind of interceded, and I thought I had lost where they run your credit and do everything I could do, and they charge like $225, and I just wrote it off as a loss. I was just so happy that I could get out the lease and stuff. And so Joyce said, no, you don't get that money back, and I did it. And then I went back and told the hospital,
I'm here.
I really was going to go, and then lo and behold, my cousin said to me, she said, Joyce, did you place traditions. I never thought about it. I never heard of a tradition. What? Tradition. And that was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. It was a 55 plus community. It's just, you know, I didn't have to pay a whole month's deposit. I only had to pay like, you know, $300 or something. But anyway, but God blocked, and that was like, it was like to me supernatural.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, Simon leads and
In that, you're walking on the wind's coming, the storm is rising, and here he is, even when things look like, I got to go, I got to get out my daughter's house, and you get to sinking because you're like, I'm getting disbelief, but here he is, you will but get up, and then he shows you, as soon as he puts you back in the boat, the winds and everything stops.
right.
The thing that you are
And
distrustful
what you're fearing is not anything, because I didn't even tell my daughter. That's the funny thing about it. I called
Kel, listen.
coming out.
I gotta come back, Kel.
And Kel said, Mama, don't worry about it. He said, everything's gonna be all right. You know, and I think, you know, you have to know when you're timing. You know, I was only supposed to be there a couple of months, which it turned into 2 years. And I said, Johnson look like this, but they never going nowhere, you know. And so she had to help me along, you know. But you know, I look at different things like that. It's just you know God intervened
Yes,
because
absolutely.
somebody had to, because I wouldn't have been able to get out of that place because I had to
You're
resign.
You're right. Yeah. We thank God for that. So something that I had wrote down from last night, from what my reading was last night, I was going to come out of Exodus 4, but I'm just going to use, I think it might be, it's going to be like 2 scriptures or so. Exodus 4:1, and then I'll read to 5. Moses answered, "What if they do not believe me or listen to me, or say the Lord did not appear to you?" Then the Lord said to him, "What is that in your hand?" "A staff," he replied. The Lord said, "Throw it on the ground." Moses threw it on the ground, and it became a snake, and he ran from it. Then the Lord said to him, "Reach out your hand and take it by the tail." Moses reached out and took hold of the snake, and it turned back into the staff in his hand. This, said the Lord, is so that they may believe that the Lord, the God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has appeared to you. I get tickled. I'm tickled reading this because listen, God tells him throw the stick down. Now, if God tells you to throw the stick down, it turns into a snake, and you gonna run because me too. I would run too. I would be, because it's a snake, Lord. I mean, you didn't say what you was gonna do with the snake when you told me to throw it down. I didn't even know the snake was coming, but I'm laughing because we so often have to make God perform these miracles, and He is who He is, and we keep proclaiming that He is who He is, but we keep saying, "God, please, just give me a sign, give me a sign, give me a sign, give me a sign." And it's this, the title of this in the Bible, in my Bible, it says "Signs of Moses," and this is a sign right here that He's given Moses, saying, "Hey, when you go to talk to these people," Moses would try to get his way out of having to go speak to the people because he said, "Oh, I don't speak that good, I don't do it, blah, blah, blah," you know, the whole shenan. But the Lord's like giving him signs to show these people this, and they'll believe that, you know, that this came from me because this is a sign. Sign, like Brandon taught us, signs, miracles, and wonders come follow those who are believed. We as the believer have the signs, the miracles, and the wonders. We have those. It's not the unbeliever. We have the ability to use these things, and that proves right there what Brandon taught us before, is that, you know, because of us being the believer in God, that we have the ability to show the unbeliever the signs that he is who he said he is. I can't throw this staff down. If I just threw a staff down in my own might, it's gonna still be a staff when I throw it down. And when I pick it back up, it's still gonna be a staff. Depending on how hard I threw it, it could be broken, but at the end of the day, it's still gonna be what it is. God tells him to throw it down, it goes down, and then within his reach, he reached back down, and this very thing that we are afraid of, a snake, the thing that we are most afraid of, a human being, we are always scared of a snake. And we're always trying to find something. Brandon is all man, but I seen that man scream over a snake before. I seen him get back over a snake before. So, I mean, at the end of the day, like it's funny to us that, but you know, in the moment when I was watching him on camera, I'm like, y'all better not sit my husband over there and get the snake. he gotta come home. But the point I'm saying is that this thing that you're afraid of, you have dominion over it. You have the power over it. Because all I gotta do is snatch it by the tail and it becomes what something that can't even do nothing to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm allowing distrust in God to cause me to not go forward and move forward and do the next thing and move on in life, and I'm just gonna stay here and I'm just gonna stay in my comfort zone. I'm gonna stay content in misery because I'm too afraid to move forward. No. So I came to encourage us tonight that regardless of the winds, regardless of the snakes, and I'm, of course, you know, in real life, I'm not telling you not to run from a snake if you don't know how to protect yourself, but regardless of the snake, regardless of the wind, regardless of the job, regardless of car troubles, family drama, you know, loss and gain, regardless of whatever it is, sickness and whatever it may be, I will even go as far as to say, and I am not saying this so that we can start a talk about politics. However, regardless of what may come and what may go, regardless who is in charge in the presidential seat and who's not, God is still God. He will still protect us. He's still going to cover us. He's still going to make a way. He will take a president and make them do what he wants them to do. He will use them to how he sees fit. And we will be okay. We will be okay. And I can't hone in on that enough. We will be okay regardless of what happens in life. Inflation, whatever. We have to rely on God. We have to believe that he is who he says he is, and what his word says he is, what we keep proclaiming out of our mouth. I know that you have encouraged people to come visit us. Clearly, you're telling people that God is who he is, you know? Mother Joyce, you witness to your family. Mom, you witness to us and yourself on a daily, and I'm sure to your friends and people that you run into, and even with your business, you witness to people. Brandon witnesses to people all the time. And at the end of the day, if we are doing all this witnessing, we must stand and believe that he's got us, regardless of what's going on. So that is what I have for you guys tonight.